Hey, what's up? Kris Krohn here. Today I'm in the Galapagos and I'm on this amazing epic adventure with my family. This entire trip has been paid for by all of the real estate that I bought recently. And I thought it might be kind of cool if I made a video while I'm here on the 5 biggest things to watch out for when investing in real estate. Because if you don't know what these 5 are, you might actually buy a property that was designed to make a lot of money and it's gonna screw you over. Meanwhile, if you understand these 5 things, you can enter the game playing at more of a professional level and make the kind of money that can make trips like this possible.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
So before we jump into what these 5 things are, I think you first need to start by just understanding that there are things that are going to catch you off guard in the game of real estate and some things that aren't. And it's the things that catch you off guard that are going to hurt your ROI or your return on investment, right? So when you go and buy an investment property, there's certain things you're expecting to do. I knew I was going to have to rip out that bathroom and replace it, or I knew that the lawn needed some maintenance. But it's the things that catch you off guard that end up determining whether you're still in the game later or whether you've become a don't wanter, meaning someone that just wants to get out of the game. And it starts with this understanding of what are the average costs of holding real estate. Americans spend $3,018 each year on average for the upkeep and repairs around their home. As a general rule, you should expect your annual home maintenance costs to be somewhere between 1% and 4% of your home's value. So this means that if your home's worth $300,000, you might spend anywhere from $3,000 to $12,000 a year on upkeep. And you don't know what it's gonna be, right? It could be something like, wow, I'm in Florida where there are termites, and it turns out that our home has termite damage and I needed to pay someone to come in and fumigate it, and we need to replace some of the structure on it. Or you might say, wow, I didn't know that when you buy an investment property that they require flood insurance or hurricane insurance or earthquake insurance. And so my insurance is 3 times higher than I thought that it was going to be. Well, all of a sudden, your $500 expected cash flow might turn into $200 or $300 because of what you didn't know. So in today's video, what I want to do is I want to cover the top 5 nasties that most people aren't thinking about. I've got stories for each of these 5 on how they've taken money out of my pocket. And my hope today is that you watching today's video will make you a much smarter investor so that you can enjoy the life that you want. When I originally started investing in real estate, some of the homes that I bought were a lot older than the kind of homes that I buy today. I would often buy homes that maybe needed a little bit of TLC, tender loving care, and I didn't need to do it because I was using my lease option strategy. I was putting a family in the home, I was letting them do a rent to own. Basically, they were gonna take over the upkeep of the property, and that pushed some of those deferred maintenance expenses onto them instead of me, and they were happy to take it because later, when they went to actually go and buy the property, they were going to benefit from that money that they had put into the property based on the way that I set my real estate up. And so I remember buying this one home, and during the winter, a pipe broke. And when it did, it actually took out the whole downstairs of the house. And I got lucky because I was buying a lot of investment properties and I was using some different insurance carriers. I happened to have selected a carrier that would handle mold and removing that mold. And I'm fortunate because they ended up putting $25,000 into pulling up the sheetrock, drying everything out, replacing everything, repainting. It was like the whole basement of the house got redone on the insurance carrier's expense. But I found out in the game of real estate, a lot of insurance carriers that are aware that that can happen. And so they have policies that keep them from doing any kind of repairs when it deals with mold. And that makes this one number 1 on the 5. Mold in your home can cause a number of health issues, and they can have a serious effect on your home's resale value. The cost of mold repairs can be from $1,000 to $4,000, according to this article, and I'm telling you, it can get into the tens of thousands of dollars depending on how severe it is. And discoloration, for example, in the walls or musty odor, these can be signs that you might have a mold problem. If you've ever had a leak in the home, a pipe break, and what you did is you fixed the problem, the pipe, but you didn't see if some of the moisture got left in the walls that could have then over time turned into mold. Mold is such a huge issue that if you had a tenant in one of your homes that had mold, they could sue you for all sorts of health problems where that mold is getting in their family's lungs. And so this is an issue that you don't want to mess with. And when you buy property, you need to make sure that your insurance carrier will cover all mold, whether a pre-existing condition, a new condition, because it can cost tens of thousands of dollars to have it fixed. The second thing to watch out for when purchasing an investment property has specifically to do with older homes, and it has to do with electrical issues. I had bought this home that was literally over 100 years old, and I got the most smoking deal on it. But when it came time to start fixing some of the electrical issues, they used all sorts of electrical plugs and sockets and things that we didn't use anymore these days. I ended up needing to literally open up the wall and redo a lot of the wiring, and all of a sudden, what could have been a really inexpensive fix because of the age of the home turned into a multi-$1,000 repair. It's not easy or safe for the average homeowner to attempt or fix electrical issues. And if they go unfixed, you could risk a fire in the home. The cost of electrical issues are estimated to be around $318 per repair, but it could be up to $15,000 if you need to do a bunch of rewiring. Circuit breakers tripping regularly and flickering lights can be signs that you have electrical issues. Now, I want to just share with you a second way that you could guess whether your home has electrical issues. One is, like I said, it's an older home and the electricity and all of the everything in it needs to be updated. But the second thing comes from handyman repairs or someone else retrofitting the home. Often it is a homeowner that previously owned the home that was a little bit of a handyman, and they started doing electrical upgrades and they didn't do it the right way. They didn't update the circuit panel the right way. They didn't ground their wires the way they're supposed to. And as a result, when you're going through the home and deciding whether you want to buy it and you get your inspection report back, it's like, this switch doesn't work, this button doesn't work, this electrical thing doesn't work. If you start seeing a repeat issue on that, then you need to be prepared to spend not hundreds, but potentially thousands of dollars. And this home that you're buying better have some equity in it to actually make it worthwhile. Otherwise, don't touch it, leave it, and get on to the next race of finding a better deal. The third thing to watch out for is major. I remember when I was just starting to build my portfolio that this coworker of mine had bought this investment property, and he found out that there was a problem with the foundation and a part of the house was sinking. And this was after he had chosen to buy it. The insurance wasn't going to fix it, address it, or do anything. And he found out that the problem would cost $150,000 to fix, a whole lot more than the money he was hoping to make on what was supposed to be a short flip. He ended up losing the home. I think he went bankrupt. So that one deal ended his entire investment career. I don't know years later if he ever jumped back in the game or not, but I remember writing that lesson down and thinking to myself, all right, when buying an investment property, you need to be careful for foundation issues. If your home was built in the area where the soil tends to swell with rains and contract during periods of drought, those changes put your foundation at risk. Repairs can cost anywhere from $450. Here it says in this article, $11,000, but I'm telling you, it can become six figures. It can even condemn the house from anyone ever even being able to live in it. Doors and windows that don't fit where their frames are. There will be cracks showing up around the house. There will be sloping floors. There will be water pooling in your basement. These can all be signs that you have foundation issues. The second house that I ever bought, it actually had a sloping floor, and I put in some concrete and we resettled it down in the basement, and we addressed that entire issue. And it's because in the area where I was buying that real estate, there's a lot of clay in the ground, and I was also buying houses that are up on the hillside where within the first couple of years there is some settling. And so a house has to be built the right way. The ground has to be tamped the right way. It has to be prepared. It has to be built on the right kind of flooring and the right kind of rock bed. And so when buying an investment property, one of the things that you should always do is pay for an inspector to, give them $300-400 and have them inspect the property. I know a lot of people say that's a great place for you to save money because a lot of what they're going to catch is what you can visually see. But in the event that they find something major, that's not something you want to be caught with. I will tell you though that most foundation issues you see with your eyes, it's cracks. It's saying there's something wrong with the floor, the slope of floor. It seems like a step sunk. And all of those are signs that you might have foundation issues. And my personal advice on it, if you're looking at an investment property and it has foundation issues, unless you have an expert tell you what's going on and how to fix it, unless you calculate those potential costs, there's a really good chance you are gonna bury yourself alive like this guy that I knew. Don't do that. Walk from that kind of home. Now I want to pause this video for just a second because as you're watching this, I don't want you getting scared or nervous thinking, you know what, maybe I shouldn't get into the game of real estate. It sounds like there's some really heavy risks associated with it. One of the things that you'll notice below this video in the description is a link for you to learn about partnering with me. When I started my whole real estate investing career in the beginning, I was relying on my mentors who had bought so much real estate, and they showed me safely how to navigate it. Now, I was a doer, and so having them in my back pocket meant the world to me. Today, I find that there's a lot of people out there that want the benefits of investing successfully in real estate, but they don't like all the different risks that are out there due to the lack of experience. And so if you know that real estate needs to be a part of your financial future, but you don't want to mess up along the way, you might want to consider teaming up with me. You may not be aware, but I partner with people all over the world that meet me here on this channel, and they'll watch hundreds and sometimes thousands of my videos and say, you know what, Kris has a track record of over $1 billion in real estate. He publishes it where you can actually find and read it and see it. That's also in a link below. And if you decide to start this journey of investing with me, how it works is you put up the money and I will do 100% of the work. You putting up the money means leveraging a 401k, an IRA, equity in your home. Could be savings, could be money from a business. But what I do is I leverage my team of 200 experts. I go into the hottest markets and we take down the most profitable real estate. So profitable that usually the gains are considerably higher than if you even try it on your own anyway, even after splitting the profits. So as we continue on to the next two flaws and things that you should watch out for as a real estate investor, if at any point you're like, hey, you know what? I would rather have half the profits growing without a learning curve at the steepest rate of profit possible, then click the link and you can join me there, and me and my team will find out whether we might have a fit of partnering and investing in real estate together. So the fourth thing that I want you to watch out for is the roof. When it comes to repairs, there are certain parts of the house that cost a lot more money to repair than others, and the roof is one of them. I remember when I bought, I think this is probably my 5th or 6th investment property, the entire roof needed to be replaced. I didn't factor that into my calculation. I also thought maybe insurance would pay for it, and I was wrong. That's a homeowner's responsibility when you own a home to upkeep that roof. And you know what? Some roofs only last for 15, 20, or 30 years. And so when I bought that house, that roof was so old. In fact, it had a composite roofing on it where they had 3 layers of it. And what I didn't know is that when it came time to replace it, that the house couldn't carry a 4th layer, which is a lot cheaper just to apply a new layer, which meant that I had to pay for them to take all 3 layers off, which meant that it was even more expensive. You know, replacing a roof rather than doing a repair can cost you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. Your roof is the most important protection from the outside elements. When it needs repairs, it's important to do it fast. The average cost, $650, but it can cost, for example, on average $12,000 to replace the roof. Leaks, missing shingles, and hail damage can all be signs that your roof needs repairs. And I'm gonna tell you that if you delay a repair on that and water gets in there, now you have potential mold issues. Now you might need to replace insulation. You might have leaks coming into the house and do drywall repair. A roof is not something you wanna mess with. So guess what? When I buy an investment property, one of the first things that I wanna know, how old is the roof? If it's less than 5 years old, and I, on average, only hold my homes for 5, 7, or 8 years, I'm not gonna have to worry about replacing it. But if I'm buying the home and it has a 15-year-old roof, even if there's no leaks, I have to assume that there's a high probability while I own it that I am gonna have to replace it. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you're writing a $12,000 check to pay for a new roof, that can eat up years worth of positive cash flow every single month. So if you can, you wanna avoid it. If it's a really good deal and it's worth buying it anyway, make sure you negotiate a better price so that someday when you replace that roof, it's all built into your ROI. Gotta tell you, it is so cool being here with my family in the Galapagos. This has been on my bucket list for years. And you know, my wife and I, we've traveled now to more than 40 different countries around the world. We've taken really cool once-in-a-lifetime trips like this. We got here to Ecuador in our private jet. When I look at the lifestyle, the house that I live in, the trips that we take, or the education I'm providing for my family, all of that came from mastering the game of successfully investing in real estate. And so I just want to acknowledge that for me, it's amazing that I'm making this video for you, but instead of being in studio like I normally am, I'm just here underways. I'm actually here sightseeing. I'm here checking out this incredible set of islands off of Ecuador. And if anything, I hope that it just inspires you that real estate done the right way is 100% worth pursuing. Okay, the fifth kind of repair that you definitely want to watch out for is HVAC repairs. So this is the heating and cooling system of your house. You might have a swamp cooler, or you might have an air conditioning unit. You're going to have some kind of furnace to make sure that you can heat the house. And the reason why I'm bringing this up as number 5 is because when you replace these things, they cost thousands of dollars to replace. And I think on my first 25 homes, this is probably what cost me more than anything else that we've talked about today, because often if you have a problem with an AC unit or a furnace, you don't replace it, but repairs can cost hundreds or sometimes even thousands of dollars, to the point where you want to replace it and then get a good unit with a good guarantee. And if you're like me and you hold real estate for 5, 7, 8 years, you're not thinking about a 30-year hold. This stuff becomes expensive. While an HVAC has a typical life expectancy of 15 years, it has also earned a reputation for being one of the most expensive items to replace in a home. An HVAC unit, meaning the air conditioning and the furnace, can cost between $7,000 to $10,000 to replace. And again, if you were buying a property and you weren't expecting that, I got news for you. That's going to cost you some of that profit. And in the moment, it can hurt, especially if you haven't planned your bank accounts appropriately. You know, one of the things that I learned from my first several dozen homes that I bought was you've got to have some type of bank account minimum balance when you buy investment properties. I call it a SWAN account, a sleep well at night account. And I have found on average that if I buy an investment property, I need to have 10 grand in the bank. And for each home after that, I keep an extra 5. So if I have 3 homes, I could have $20,000 sitting in the bank. And someone might say, well, Kris, that's kind of excessive. But until you really can wrap your head and your finances around what it's like to hold real estate long term, it's better to have too much money waiting in savings, letting you sleep well at night. Because what happens if you have to replace a furnace, and for that alone you're writing a $4,000 or $6,000 check? What happens if a roof leak turns into a roof replacement and you need $12,000? Well, that can start mentally wearing you down, and it can erode your faith in wanting to be a real estate investor. By the time you ever have a chance to sell the house and make a pile of money, you got out of the game because you weren't adequately prepared. So replacing the HVAC is the 5th, but this bonus material I'm giving you is that you need to be prepared and understand that investing successfully in real estate, these expenses can be exactly how you make millions of dollars in the game. And you got to be mentally prepared, but you also have to be financially prepared. If anything, I hope today's video got you even more excited about investing in real estate. Know that when you do, there's always 2 choices. It's either you doing it yourself or you partnering with someone that can do it for you. If you know you need to do it yourself because you're a DIYer, then you know what? Watching today's video will hopefully aid you on that journey to be even more prepared as you dig in. But if you're watching this and you're thinking, wow, I didn't really know that there were options to partner with someone that's extremely experienced, has done over $1 billion in real estate, has mapped out and figured out all of it. And I'll tell you this, a single home over 20 years can produce $4.3 million with the type of ROIs that I produce. And that's a conservative figure. Just imagine what happens if you buy 2, 3, or 4 homes. Well, if you're curious to know what partnership with me might look like, again, like I said earlier, click the link below, read the information there. You get to access my track record, and by filling in that information, a member of my team will call you and they'll start exploring with you what that might look like and see if it's a good fit or not. Click the link and we'll see you on the other side. Hey, thanks for watching today. If you're not a subscriber, make sure that you take care of that. By the way, while I'm out here in the Galapagos shooting several other videos on how to win financially, develop the right mindset, specific ways of making money, I hope all of that is helpful for you. If you want to keep on watching, the internet thinks that next you're really going to appreciate watching this video actually right over here. And with that, my friend, I'll catch you in that video. Otherwise, peace out.